Hear that? There it is, YouTube. All right. It's apropos for the title of the chat here, I think. Um, but getting some quick lunch in and getting a quick message out. Um, but I didn't put anything in the description box, so I'm going to have to do that once we're done. But hey, what's going on? Happy Friday, everybody. Finally Friday, right? Um, this is going to be a quick continuance of the discussion that Dad on YouTube did in his video yesterday, last night, whatever it was. Um, he did a real good one. What was the title of his video? Everything is controlled, something like that was the title of it. A good video. I'll put it in the description box once I'm done. But it's a really good video that Dad did over there, and I'll get into that. But he talked about in particular saying that the next generation was jumping off the train and not being sucked into the matrix, basically, of debt and death cycle, potentially. And I would say potentially. I don't know that necessarily that's true, but he talked about how people got sucked into this lie of, go to college, get a bunch of college debt, live the dream. People have been sucked into that, and people are starting to jump out of that cycle to a certain extent. Obviously, some parents are paying to get their kids into debt and to go to these big name colleges and stuff. But it's more than just that. There's the house debt, and there's the car debt, and there's all the debt that centralizes around the banks. And like he said in he showed in one of his excerpts, like the bank always wins. Just like we said in the last chat, the bank always wins. And that is the biggest part of the system that is must be fought against. Most people don't get that because they don't get that the bank always wins. Even when they supposedly fall apart and collapse, the bank always wins. But more to what Dad was talking about, Dad on YouTube over there, about the next generation. I guess Generation Z, it would be potentially jumping off the bus. I think they need to be shown the way, though. They need to be given tools to do so and understand how to do that. I mean, sure, a couple individuals, a few anomalies can always appear, just like people going off grid. There's always a few anomalies, even in every generation. But in this case, if we know that they need to live in a different way than we did, or where we were brought up, or the way that we were lied to, or whatever, but we have to provide those tools. We have to examine and study and research and whatever else, and not only show them, but try to do it ourselves. I mean, I think like he said, a lot of the prepping stuff is about that. To a certain degree, is about escaping that system of debt control. Because really, I mean, it enslaves whole nations, right? I mean, we've got whole nations tied to central bank debt, whole continents controlled by central bank debt and being driven by it. And they use the different types of propaganda, different types of information control to propagate it. The consumer-driven model was part of that. It came out of the 60s, As soon as and I mentioned in my comment to him that like each generation has had like anomalies of that as things have been coming, as this has been progressing, because it really hit hard, obviously, after we got a central bank and they were starting to progress and they're tightening their control. And you had the rebellion of the 60s, and that boomer generation had a brief, I guess you'd say, 20-year period where there was a lot of rebellion against the man and the system. But it was in such a way, it was mostly cultural, and most of these other issues, social issues, it didn't focus on what the real problem, and they got sucked into consumerism and propagated that out to the rest of us. It was like passed down to us. Hey, there's this consumer model, consume, because we can. Hey, look at all this free money, or not free necessarily, but it's very cheap and living off the backs of others and on and on. But that was passed down to us, and now we're stuck. We were stuck in it, and now we're trying to figure out how to get out of it. And a lot of us, we failed to recognize it until it was too late. I guess you'd say later in life. Some are doing much better than others with the off-grid lifestyle, like you say. But with the way things are now, I don't know that necessarily the next generation can't just jump off the bus without the elimination of the central bank. I can't think we would get more to my point. Can the individual can enough individuals get out of the system to make it collapse and totally be irrelevant? I'm not sure if that's possible without actual physical removal. And that's a whole discussion on that potentially, of what that would take, because they can always, people that run the company store can always pay the company security enough to enforce their mandates, right? And give them the benefits of compliance. When you're standing on principle, it's always a difficult proposition to fight those that aren't. So I don't know, maybe Dad will check this out after it plays, or he's probably coming home from work or something like that. But I didn't have those thoughts. But go check out his video. Most of you are subscribed to him probably. And I'll get the link. I neglected to get in here. I was kind of in a hurry in the description box. But Dad on YouTube should be his last video he made, unless he made one like in the last couple hours. But really good in-depth thoughts, and really getting to the heart of the matter in a lot of respects. But I think the problem is we have to now show the path and find a way. We don't necessarily know, and we've talked about this before, people don't know what the destination is, so they're hesitant to get off. I think that goes for all of us. We're not sure what comes. If you eliminate the system, what's on the other side? Well, of course, the fearmongers are going to bring out death and pestilence and anarchy. The bad anarchy, not the good anarchy, right? But with all this loss of control, there's all these people that can take advantage of you, and the weakest members of society will be victims, and all this other stuff they play at each other's throats with. But you get into the title, living the best life. If you're not moving in that direction, why not? And sometimes you just got to accept where you're at and make the best of it. Don't beat yourself up because of your own circumstances that you're not able to move to where you wanted to be, or be as far along as you wanted to be. I think would go a long way too, because if the next generation sees us beating ourselves up about and being miserable more so than being productive and happy about the whole thing, if the next generation sees us beating ourselves up about not being as necessarily either prosperous or as independent, if that's what our goal is, as independent of the system as we want to be, if we're beating ourselves up and making ourselves miserable with it, probably is not going to instill them with good thoughts about what it would mean to do that. Whether you're trying to homestead or get out of, a certain situation that you're in or whatever, the positive thoughts are going to go a lot farther in passing on good lessons to the next generation than the negative stuff, because they're going to use that as a reason to not go that path, because it's going to be very easy to be enticed back into the consumer model once they leave the homestead, once they leave the casa, and go on their own path. Maybe you convinced them they didn't need to go to college, but then they get out there and they start messing around and like, there's all this other stuff and et cetera, and they end up on the wrong side, or back square zero, maybe might be a better way to put it, with certain models of expecting certain consumer activities, and especially when it comes to house sizes and all the different stuff like that in particular. So I think I got my point across, hopefully. In particular, what we have passed on the next generation about living the dream, what living the dream means, and that it is a journey, not so much a destination. Do dreams end? Yes, but this one, only has an end when it's over. It's not like you don't end the dream in the middle of life. The dream is all of life. Maybe that's a good way to put it. Did I just make that up? Has anybody ever heard that before? Sounds like a good a way to think about it though is your dream of your life is your whole life, not in the middle of your life you're going to accomplish your dream and that's going to what happens after that. Well, the rest of the life, it's all tied. It's all there. It's like they talk about in your tombstone. You have a beginning and the end. What's your dash in the middle? On the tombstone between your birth date and your death date. Like the stuff in the middle is what's important. That in between dash stuff like that. When you want to get into thinking about it like that. More important about what living the dream than accomplishing the dream. Even might even be. You know. So I guess I've ran my mouth for a few minutes. Got some people checking in. Sweet. Hope everybody's having their final Friday, getting it done. Let me scroll back here to the beginning. Don't want to miss nobody. M. Long is here. Not raining. Yeah, I saw Midwest Prepper said it stopped raining there in Cincinnati, so things are starting to dry out a little bit maybe. M. Long getting his boat races in this week. Wes says you dream of sitting in your car. Yeah, that's a good. If I could do this all day, that's definitely a good dream, right? Hey, Alicia, Toxic Threads is in. Die Bullfrog, Uncle Al. What is up? How's everybody doing? Yeah, pay as you go through college, right? Don't expect to go to the most expensive private school or even state school or even school out of state. Do what you can with what you got. Don't think you have to overdo it, right? And not everybody needs college. Most people don't need college. The only reason jobs require college on applications is because everybody's got it. Everybody got into debt and went to college, even though their major very rarely deals with the work they're doing. If you got started in something you loved at 16, 17 years old, or maybe even something you're interested in and just learned the job skills and progressed, you would be just far along. And when you're 25, you'd probably be better off, especially in technical skills. The internet skills and the computer skills are a prime example of that. Those computer engineering degrees don't go near as far as having those years of experience in the field. C103 is with us. Westwind Survival, what's up, Wayne? Diebold, Uncle Al plays his own game and loads the deck. Right? Wes says, hey, Wayne, remember when we had hopes and dreams? We still got dreams, Wes. That's kind of the point, too. Why you're not living your dreams. Just because things around you aren't going the way you would hope doesn't mean you don't still have hopes and dreams, right? Wayne doesn't know what to do with his life after. It takes some getting used to, Wayne, I'll tell you that much. Especially just your mentality in life is, and what, I mean, you're obviously just transitioned, but just the way you approach your annual events. You're outside of that workup routine. You're so used to work up, pre-deployment leave, post-deployment leave, work, rest, recoup, recovery, refit, retrain, and you do the cycle, right? Out here in this world, it's not like that at all. Nobody, and most people don't even have a cycle they go through in any type of work they do anyway, unless it's some type of, I guess you'd say law enforcement, stuff like that, have some types of training cycles and stuff. But nobody out here has a training cycle like that. It's hard to get used to. America died. Hey, what's up? Good afternoon. Thanks for checking in. CBs and walkie-talkies are the communication of the future. Well, maybe for those that want to be outside the grid, but you're going to have to work on encryption because all that stuff is easily listened in on, right? But we can communicate uncensored, I guess, is the bigger point. Even though you can be jammed, you can always be jammed if they don't want you to talk into sending transmissions to those folks behind enemy lines in California or New York or something. They can always pull those stops out if they really wanted to. And would anybody know the difference if they were jamming those type of signals? I don't know that we would, unless we had a way to physically verify at the location. Wes S says smoke signals and rock drawings. What was a waste of money there, M. Long? All three to college, no debt. Right on. That's a good all three were a waste of money anyway. Oh, I see M Long saying all three went to college, but it was still a waste of money, even though they didn't get in debt. Hey, Bikes and Bullets, good afternoon. Nice cool day there in Vegas, huh? I was seeing people, the weather station down in Vegas, it's like today was going to be like 93 or something. And they posted the historical, like last 5 years, this same day, the summer solstice or whatever. The average temperature, it was like 112 one year, 108, 107. It's like all hundreds, you know. So today's a nice cool day for you guys, I guess. It's been nice up here. It's like, it's in the 70s up here. So it's a good day to get out and about for sure. I'm way behind on the chat, I can tell. Die Bullfrog says, got to remember to keep it moral and legal. Well, legal isn't always moral, that's for sure. Wes says he called and quit his job after watching Dad's video. Refusing to be part of the machine and not a cog. Viva la revolution. It makes you want to do that, doesn't it? But again, it's the fear of what's on the other side. What's the repercussions, right? We're always risk adverse to a certain degree. Even the most biggest risk takers are still calculating in the risks they take, right? Wait, Wayne says even a bottle of Coke is a lie. You want the real stuff? Is that because it's not the classic formula? Is that what you're saying? Wes says war is imminent. And there's the whole Iran thing. But you can't let those things stop you from going after your dreams, right, Wes? That's kind of the point of the video, more the point of the chat. Those things that are external that we're concerned about, we still can't let them get us off our game, I guess. Even though they could ultimately derail it, because the outside influence that it could cause on us is what we're concerned about, really. Because it can have impacts on us, not only economically, but actually physically in certain respects, depending on what goes down, right? Right, Bikes? Yeah, college isn't a waste depending on your study, but a lot fewer people could go to college and get away with it. Billy Bird Outdoors, what's up? It is a very secret meeting. Yes, top secret. It's all over YouTube. Let's see. Wake Up Canuck. Hey, what's going on? Buy a Bobcat. I'm not sure what I would do with it. And Wake Up Canuck, I so often get you confused with Angry Canadian, the Angry Canuck. There's two channels there. I get confused sometimes. Who's doing what? Wes S will rule the world. Get in line, says Uncle Al. See who else is in there. Hey, old bag, how's it going across the pond there? What's going on? 101 down in Arizona for American Dad. That's kind of warm. Not too bad for this time of year there. Andy, you're checking in. What's going on, Andy? 68 in the Great White North in basically Canada, right? Maybe in New Hampshire. Yeah. Oh, Coke was the original energy drink, says Wayne. I bet you if you drank a bottle, you got stuff done. Yeah, I guess the stuff with a little bit of cocaine in it, the trace elements, supposed to wind you up pretty good, right? And American Dad says, we have lived through countless wars. Iran won't be any different. We have no say, so live the dream. Well, I think the point more so is that it degrades our country's ability to deal with things that are more important. And the worst case is that it gets sucked into a multi-front war with other national powers that have lured it into a trap, that being Russia and China, which they could easily manipulate the situation to benefit them and really cut us off at the knees. But we won't let our ego settle down enough to back off and let things ride a little bit. I was talking the other day on the chat that it didn't seem like people were too amped up to go to war. You know, there was a lot of pushback, but I think the neocons had a day to regroup their message, and they've kind of recouped. And it seems like the bomb Iran mafia has come back out today on the social media in particular with the messaging that they're putting out there. Just like since the president supposedly called back an attack after the fact, that the neocons are now pushing back with this big pro-war movement of they destroyed American stuff, they must pay repercussions, and so there's a whole different messaging going on now. These things cannot stand, you know, like any of it's any of our business anyway. They still fail. I mean, if there were not only hostile any nation's war machines flying over our country, what do you think our reaction would be? Little less a hostile nation, you know, that's been obviously hostile for 30 plus years. It's just, it's the hypocrisy runs very deep. Billy Bird says I'm a speed reader. Uh-oh, Wes has got the wife home early working in the garden. There you go, dream of salad, that's it. Right, Andy? The college degree is a high school diploma now? About the same thing, exactly. Definitely true. And that goes to the whole thing of the next generation being kept as children for a longer period of time. You know, they're kept on their parents' insurance till they're 25. They stay at home till they're 30. You know, adulthood is delayed, so they're actually less productive, um, and they're less beneficial to society until a later age, which causes other problems and the societal problems of not starting families younger. When you start families older, there could be actual physical and medical problems with children that are born to older parents. Maybe not in your 30s, but definitely when you get older than that, there can be problems that can be systemic. But you have less time to procure wealth and procure productivity to secure their happiness when you do delay those things. But all that stuff is delaying stuff in the society as a whole and the economy by holding back the progression of people because they can't afford to go to college. Uncle Al's like headphones. So Wayne wants a recommendation on a mic. Libby for all. Iran already brought down 3 drones and an F-16. U.S. 0. I don't know about that. We've sank quite a few of the Iranian Coast Guard, their coastal security flotillas and stuff like that, back before the first Gulf War and in the 90s, and then we put a hurting on them back in the 70s too during the regime change. Just it wasn't enough to free the hostages, I guess you'd say. But if we were keeping a monetary, if we were keeping account of monetary damages, yeah, we would definitely be hurting compared to Iran for sure. There's a good point. I'll bag the whole 2-wage income, right? Both the mom and dad work is a terrible model to try to follow. That's a huge suck of time of energy. But that goes again, most of that is based around consumerism and trying to chase the dream. Oh, no, wreck. Oh, wreck. I knew I should have mounted it instead of just propping it up. All right, let's get that back up. Whoa, like a drunk fighter there. But it goes back to the whole societal norms of what's culturally acceptable to own as far as a house and to drive and to what you buy and what you eat. If you can change those things, you can get that to a one wage income, you know and change for the better, I guess you'd say. West Wind says Iran only takes down what we let them. I think we throw some high hanging curveballs up there just for them to knock out of the park for us, Wayne. Give the Mick an excuse to exist, maybe. Conspiracy abounds. And flying a drone low and slow through yeah, there's no reason to do it, right, Wayne? There's not like anything you're going to see that you've not seen before, which I still think it was over their airspace anyway. It probably wasn't in the straits itself, but that's a whole nother, we'll never know the real answer to that unless WikiLeaks finds out somehow. All right, see you 103's on Work in the Garden. Have a good night. Have a good Friday weekend, whatever. Have a good one. Yeah, no French fries, Billy Bird. It makes it much easier, America died, right? If you've got the Lord on your side, the suck is easy. Indeed. There's no doubt about that. That people don't realize the difference. Billy Bird got the eyeball, putting the eyeball on me. It's getting a little warm in here. So, all right, I want to get that message out. Let me get off here, and I'll put that link to Dad on YouTube's video, so you can go check that out if you hadn't already. Definitely thought-provoking, and you want to talk about making change for the better and for the future. That's what he's talking about. But again, we still have to provide some sort of guidance, some sort of roadmap, some sort of tactics, techniques, and procedures, if you will, that we may not be able to follow, but we can see as being useful, and maybe help them out along their path, because they can't just go blind in the world and then they end up making a ton more mistakes behind the eight ball, more so than we were. So get out there and live the dream, pass the word, spread the word. Old Bag's been 3 weeks of embracing the suck. Hard work embracing the suck. All right. Andy, this is pointed basically northwest. Probably at a good solid, right at about 250 degrees. Somewhere in there, 250, 230. You going to try to push a resection on, Andy, off of Mount Rose there? Get on Slide Mountain and do a resection back, see where I'm at? Right, West Wind? You have them, if they know a good skill that they can learn, that they can definitely benefit from, self-business would be great. Great model. And maybe just remember to lower your expectations on the next crew on how you expect them to live, maybe. With, I mean, Dad, not to beat up on Dad, but he did he went down to Central Florida there. He got family down there and he visited, and he was talking about how he couldn't even go to Disneyland because, or Disney World, because it's just too dang expensive. So they went like to the shopping places where you can shop outside the park, and hung out and stuff. And it's like, he was doing price shopping with them on some of the quote unquote merch, and it's like, yeah, you teach them young that this stuff is outrageously priced. It's not affordable. And don't go around trying to buy stuff that you can't afford, and just be happy with what you got. Understand that, And then he was talking about how Disney World's, I guess, season passes went up to an outrageous amount. Just like they're like as much a season pass for Disney World is like as much as professional sports and stuff like that. It's just crazy. And it's a pretty good view, Andy. Indeed. Old Bag's going off grid in a static caravan. I'm not sure what that means, static caravan rent free, but I guess living rent free is better than Any alternatives? That's one of the big things is living rent free. You live rent free, you live with no mortgage. That's huge. And I think that goes too with what to give our next generation a hand up. Like, yeah, I don't want to chase you off. Maybe that's our generations, or in the generation in this age group, I guess, say under 60, by not chasing your kids off and having them stay at home longer, you're identifying that rent and mortgages are too expensive. We're going to try to help you out here, but we know there's plenty of bad examples of that, where people are just flat out lazy and don't want to leave home. But you can give your next generation a huge hand up by limiting the years they're out there trying to get rent or get a mortgage until they can really afford it. But that's something you can communicate to them about the consumer driven mentality, etc. Hey, Brown Dwarf. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for checking in. Yeah, but you're not. Which Humboldt? There's like 3 different Humboldts, but I think you're in Oregon, correct? Up there chasing the big feet. But they do want to sucker people into debt, Wayne, that's for sure. Play by the river, poking sticks and dead animals. Well, I'm not sure if that's a good profession for an adult, though, Billy Bird. My kids do play with plenty of dead animals and such, but it's not a profession. It's just kind of a pastime. You can do that at any time, though, for sure. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Thanks for checking in. The view is solid as usual. Yeah, we used to have tobacco stick wars, Wayne. You just go to each other like swinging swords with tobacco sticks. That was always fun. Oh, you're up in Northern California. Okay, I didn't know if you. Okay, so you're in Humboldt, the Humboldt County. Then I call that the state of Jefferson, so that's cool with me. I don't like to use the K word. All right, everybody, I do have to go now, though. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for the conversation. Again, go check out Dad's video. Once I'm off here, I'll get it linked below as soon as I get resituated and off this position. But you all have a good weekend. If I don't see you out there on the YouTubes, it is a great, sunny, beautiful day. Midwest Prepper was talking about his clouds and formations and stuff. And it's like, it's about the same as here as it's always been. But you guys have a good one. And remember, not only chase your dreams, but live free.